At the 2025 WWDC, Apple announced Liquid Glass, and my corner of the internet lost its collective mind. The reaction was a mix of genuine accessibility concerns and a lot of questions like, do we even need this? But what I didn't see between the LinkedIn posts and the anti-hype articles were opinions from people who actually spend time designing and developing for Apple platforms. Hi, I'm Gianna. I've designed apps for a decade for industries like banking, insurance, and retail. I know Apple inside and out, and I really want to talk about Liquid Glass. Quick disclaimer, I have not downloaded the iOS beta simply because I need my current devices running the supported versions for work. Liquid Glass is Apple's new design language. The last time Apple did a major redesign was back in 2013 when they released iOS 7. Liquid Glass is the most extensive software update that Apple's ever made because it's universal across all Apple platforms. It's not just for iPhones and iPads. They now have one system that supports all of their devices, everything from an Apple Watch to the spatial computing needed for their headsets. I am super excited about what one design system means for product teams, but we'll save that for the end. One of the likely drivers behind this new design language is the need to have a system that works for both traditional 2D screens and immersive 3D environments. I've heard takes like, Apple's doing this to get everyone ready for wearables, which is honestly really funny to me because they already have wearables. The newest and most challenging platform to align would definitely be Vision OS. Another theory I have is that Liquid Glass is the next step in Apple's quest to blur the lines between hardware and software. They have always been masters at this, and I'd argue it's one of their core design principles. I've even heard from someone who works at Apple that their hardware and software teams sit together to make sure that they're sharing ideas. A lot of their hardware and software integrations have become so embedded to what we're used to that we don't even notice them anymore. Back in 2007, Apple reshaped the industry by popularizing the on-screen keyboard, completely dethroning BlackBerry in the process. Since then, they've made more pushes towards this, like introducing the dynamic island, which turns a hardware cutout into a responsive UI element. To me, Liquid Glass is a continuation of that hardware-software philosophy. You see it in the way light refracts across interface layers as the phone moves, as if the software is reacting to the physical world. Even small details like the curvature of UI elements echoing the physical device's rounded corners, these really all show the material and the screen are becoming one cohesive experience. Another recurring theme I noticed across WWDC sessions is that Liquid Glass is designed to reduce the visual weight of navigation and system controls, so content can take center stage. The goal is for UI to feel present when you need it, but gracefully fade into the background when you don't. Apple described this as a way to elevate what users care about most. The interface is no longer the star of the show. The experience is. It's a subtle shift, but a really important one. One of the most common critiques about Liquid Glass is its accessibility. And honestly, fair. Some of the visuals in the keynote, especially the one where all of the app icons turn transparent, would be an absolute nightmare for low vision users. That being said, Apple has a solid track record of giving designers and developers tools to create accessible experiences. And something that I think is really missed in the online conversation is, particularly for the transparent app icons, that is completely optional for users. You don't have to use it, you can turn that off. What some designers don't realize is that mobile apps, you can actually tailor experiences to users' accessibility settings. Unlike in the world of web, where you don't know if someone needs an assistive device or you don't know if they're using larger text size, you actually do know this, and your app can respond to those scenarios for mobile app design. So things like high contrast or larger text sizes are things that your app can and should be responding to. Apple is also introducing new accessibility settings specifically for Liquid Glass. Reduce transparency, increase contrast, and reduce motion are new settings that give users more control and make the interface more legible based on their needs. Of course, even with these new settings, there's still real concerns for users who rely on a high contrast interface. Transparency, by its nature, can actually reduce clarity when you're layering things on top of each other, especially in really visually heavy or motion heavy UIs. But on a more optimistic note, a lot of YouTubers have noticed a really big difference between the iOS 26 Beta 2 and Beta 3. So it seems like Apple's iterating really quickly on this feedback. As I said at the beginning of the video, I am extremely excited that Apple's tightening its ecosystem. A unified design language means that no matter what device your user is on, iPhone, iPad, visionOS, watchOS, whatever, your product should always feel the same to them and the whole system should feel cohesive. But the benefits go way beyond users. Now design and development teams can become way more efficient because of the standardization. So now you can have one team who's using the same components, the same patterns, and hopefully the same code across all platforms. That's pretty cool. We're already seeing examples of this standardization in action. Desktop-like windows are coming to iPadOS, and action sheets have been redesigned to work consistently across platforms. Even components are getting unified. What used to be two separate elements, the toolbar and the old navigation bar, is now a single flexible toolbar component used on all devices. That kind of convergence not only simplifies implementation, but it also helps teams keep things consistent at scale. So if you take one thing away from this video, it's that Liquid Glass is not just a visual update. It's way more complex, and really it's Apple laying the groundwork for a consistent experience across all of their platforms. For designers and developers, it means less fragmentation, more consistency, and a real chance to simplify how we build for the entire Apple ecosystem. I'd love to hear what you think. Drop me a like or comment and tell me what you think about Liquid Glass or what you'd like to hear me talk about next time, especially if it has to deal with apps. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.